Hello, class. My name is Fajana Lolade Peter, and I'm going to be talking about Black in Latin America, Cuba. Yeah, so watching this, it has 4 episodes. So I'm just going to narrate, each episode real fast. So the first episode of the uh movie was Haiti and the Dominican Republic and and an island divided. So this we're majorly going to talk about Professor Gates. We're mainly going to talk because he was the one that went to Cuba to get some information about things that had happened. So the first episode says Gates discussed the Dominican Republic's social construction of race and Haiti's history of slave liberation and the formation formation of a black republic. So one thing Gates noticed was that while people from the US would consider some Dominicans as black, they identified as Indo and instead viewed Haitians as Negroes. While Haitians did not have as many racial categories as other countries, it still dealt with problems between black and mulatto people. So the second episode, Cuba, the next revolution. Gates connect the history of slave labor with Cuba's music and culture, and also explores how communist revolution has affected racism in Cuba. Specifically, Gates wondered whether the health and education benefits given to all Cubans helped deal with racism in the nation. So episode 3, Brazil, a racial paradise. Gates focuses on Brazil. Well, I'm not gonna be talking about Brazil because I'm only talking about Mexico, but I'm just summarizing the episode. Gates focuses on Brazil, Carnival, and country's history as the world's largest slavery economy, with 136 categories of blackness. Like Brazil is given the title of the Rainbow Nation in the episode summary. Two reasons Gates chose Brazil to include in his documentary was that it is the largest country of Latin America and it is Portuguese. In contrast with the majority of Hispanic Latin American nations. Alright, so the last episode, which is the fourth episode, which says Mexico and Peru. That's the black grandma in the closet. Gates discuss the history. Gates discuss the history of black slaves brought to Mexico and Peru during the 1500s and 1600s. In addition to the culture that is now lived by their descendants, the censors in Mexico and Peru do not have a category for race. And some activists want to bring this category back because without it, many people ignore the racism exists in their nations. So in Cuba, Professor Gates finds out how the culture, religion, politics, and music of the island are inextricably linked to the huge amount of slave labor imported to produce its enormously profitable 19th century sugar industry. I'll explain more about that and how race and racism have fared since Fidel Castro's communist revolution in 1959. Okay, so Cuba, still in 1959, Cuba received 780,000 enslaved Africans. And yeah, I would say enslaved because they were forced to be slaves. Also, as the professor mentioned in class, because of course no one chooses to be a slave, so they were definitely enslaved. So that number is almost twice the amount that arrived in America. Christopher Columbus landed in Cuba in 1492, but the economy, didn't take off back then until late, excuse me, until late 18th century and 19th century. The Cuban Revolution, Haitian Revolution, caused the sudden and massive shortage of sugar. So that shortage opened doors to Cuban planters to fill that gap. To meet this new demand, they imported a massive number of slaves, hundreds of thousands in the early 1800s. Alright, so I'm just gonna say a little bit about their gods and all that. So, like, slave ceremony starts with the sacrifice of gods, especially to one called God of Pathways, called Langua in Cuba. So Cuba didn't abolish slavery, like end slavery, until 1886. Until 1886. By 1840, Cuba had become the largest producer of sugar in the world. So initially, 428 slaves, enslaved Africans, were made to produce coffee, and on a very large scale. So when the Haiti began their revolt in 1791, disposing their French colonial masters, and finally they declared independence in 1804. Three things I took away from this. I took away I mean, how they work together. Like some of them really like work together and not start seeing themselves, differently. They didn't give up. And finally, how they try to like preserve their culture, so that way their culture and religion is not like totally taken away from them. My perspective, like the term slavery, first of all, I don't think this is human, because uh how would you, a human being, try to enslave another human being? So that is, to me, that is not human, that is not normal. And I don't know what they were thinking. Maybe they were trying to show power, or I really do not know what they were thinking. But whatever they were thinking, it's not right. So one question I'm left with, after doing all this. So the slavery and racism really end? Because, especially racism, because to this day there's still racism. We still experience racism. So it it really end. Thank you very much. I tried to make this short, but this is as short as I could let it. Thank you very much, and have a good one.